What lies hidden beneath the rippling waves of the ocean? Could prehistoric predators, long believed to have vanished, still endure in the deep, or might there be colossal creatures dwelling far below the surface, elusive and unseen? Truly, there is something in the water. Although the seas cover more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface, 95% of them remain unexplored. To this day, humanity has glimpsed only fragments of that mysterious realm. In fact, more people have set foot upon the moon than have descended into the deepest trenches of the ocean. Among the tens of thousands of new species cataloged each year, a significant portion comes from aquatic environments. The truth is that there may be millions of undiscovered waterborne lifeforms, and that reality compels us to ask what else could be lurking in the depths. For centuries, sailors have spoken of terrifying encounters with sea monsters, the most infamous of which is the dreaded Kraken. In modern times, however, such tales have been largely dismissed as exaggerations, the kind of seafaring lore told to frighten new recruits or ward off would-be pirates. Yet it may surprise you to learn that sightings of sea monsters today are every bit as common as they were hundreds of years ago. Interest in this subject surged dramatically in the late 1990s, when the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, better known as NOAA, detected an ultra-low frequency sound beneath the waves in 1997. The noise was said to be so immense and so powerful that sensors more than 3,000 miles away still registered it. It was given a simple name: the Bloop. At first, scientists suspected it might have been produced by some enormous, as yet undiscovered marine animal, one larger than any species ever recorded. Yet by 2012, further investigation revealed that the sound had originated from sea ice fracturing and grinding against the ocean floor. Even so, human imagination had already been stirred, and tales of sea monsters quickly found new life. The legend of the Kraken has endured for thousands of years. Homer's Odyssey mentions a beast of similar description, but it was not until 1755, in The Natural History of Norway by Norwegian author Erik Pontoppidan, that the creature was given its first detailed account. Pontoppidan wrote that, according to fishermen, the monster was so vast that it could easily drag a vessel weighing 5,000 tons down into the depths, its tentacles long enough to reach the decks and snatch sailors from their posts. Such stories were long regarded as exaggerations, unworthy of serious scientific attention. Yet, in 1857, the legend began its slow transformation into scientific fact. A Danish naturalist named Japetus Steenstrup studied the beak of a giant squid that had washed ashore. Measuring more than 3 inches across, larger than any previously known specimen, it hinted at an animal of staggering size. When 2 massive tentacles later drifted onto a beach in the Bahamas, Steenstrup famously declared that the Kraken was indeed real. In modern times, the giant squid has been recorded at lengths of up to 15 meters, with some estimates suggesting they may even grow as large as 20. Astonishingly, the very first photographs and film footage of this colossal creature were captured only as recently as 2004. Could they truly have been responsible for the legendary tales of old? The likelihood is slim. Giant squids have never been observed at the surface. They dwell at depths between 800 and 1,600 meters and, despite their fearsome appearance, prey only on smaller animals, making them in reality relatively gentle. It seems probable that the Kraken myth was little more than an exaggeration of their size and ferocity. Yet who can say with certainty what else might lurk in the abyss? After all, the legend of the Kraken predated humanity's very knowledge of the squid's existence, which raises the question: what, precisely, first seeded that ancient legend? In 2004, a GPS tracking device that had been attached to the dorsal fin of a female great white shark measuring nearly 9 feet in length was discovered washed up on a beach in Australia. Remarkably, it was found only 4 months after it had been deployed, and just a few miles from the location where the shark was originally tagged. When wildlife conservationists analyzed the stored data, they uncovered something strange. During the first 4 months, the shark had remained close to the coast, rarely descending below 600 feet. Yet at 4 o'clock in the morning on December 24th, the animal suddenly plunged over the edge of the continental shelf, reaching a depth of 1,900 feet in less than 2 minutes faster than the shark itself could possibly swim. The initial assumption was that the device had simply detached from the shark, but this theory was quickly dismissed. If the shark could not have descended that quickly, then the tag certainly could not have sunk at such a rate either. More importantly, during the entire descent, the temperature reading remained stable at 78 degrees Fahrenheit, far warmer than the 46 degrees previously recorded when the device was still attached to the shark's fin. Moreover, had the tag simply fallen away and drifted into deeper waters, the reading should have shown a sudden and dramatic drop in temperature. Upon examination, researchers found the casing lined with a substance believed to be stomach acid. This final clue suggested the shark had almost certainly been killed and swallowed whole by something larger. The question was, what? Some suggested the culprit might have been a killer whale. Orcas are known to hunt sharks, and they are certainly large enough, reaching lengths of more than 32 feet. Yet the problem with this explanation was depth. The deepest recorded dive of a killer whale is a mere 850 feet, less than half the depth documented in this case. 10 years later, in 2014, marine biologists claimed to have solved the mystery, proposing that the predator had been another, much larger great white shark. But this too was problematic. First, cannibalism among great whites is exceedingly rare, especially in the food-rich waters surrounding Australia. If it had been a territorial dispute, that would run contrary to everything we know about these intelligent predators, which typically resolve conflicts through ritualized gestures and non-violent displays. Finally, the temperature reading remained inconsistent with such an explanation. At 78 degrees Fahrenheit, it was some 14 degrees warmer than the maximum stomach temperature of a great white, which averages around 64 degrees. These discrepancies have led some to believe that the true culprit was Megalodon, perhaps the largest and most powerful fish ever to have lived, with an estimated length of 60 feet. Although the scientific community is largely in agreement that the Megalodon went extinct around 2.5 million years ago, many continue to reject that conclusion, pointing to countless eyewitness reports of colossal sharks from across the globe. Most of these sightings are dismissed as cases of mistaken identity, often confused with whale sharks or basking sharks, but that has not deterred many from believing that the Megalodon still prowls the oceans. After all, in 1875, a British vessel, HMS Challenger, hauled up a Megalodon tooth while dredging the seabed. When dated using manganese dioxide buildup, the tooth was found to be only about 11,000 years old. This left many wondering, why would such a dominant predator as the Megalodon have vanished at all? In any case, the Megalodon is not the only species thought to have gone extinct, yet rumored to still roam the seas. In 1915, the German submarine U-28 experienced a terrifying encounter with a massive marine reptile. Commander Freiherr Georg von Forstner recorded the details in the ship's log on July 30th, 1915. Our U-28 had fired a torpedo which struck and sank the British steamer Iberian, a vessel carrying a rich cargo across the North Atlantic. The ship went down so swiftly that its bow rose almost vertically into the air. Moments later, the entire Iberian disappeared. The wreckage remained beneath the waves for approximately 25 seconds at an unmeasurable depth, when suddenly there was a violent explosion that hurled debris, and with it, a gigantic aquatic creature some 80 feet above the surface. At that moment, I was in the conning tower with 6 of my officers, including the chief engineer, the navigator, and the helmsman. We all drew one another's attention to this marvel of the sea, writhing and struggling amid the wreckage. We could not identify the creature precisely, but all of us agreed it resembled a marine crocodile about 60 feet in length, with 4 limbs shaped like large webbed feet, a long pointed tail, and a head that tapered sharply. Unfortunately, we were unable to take a photograph, for after only 10 to 15 seconds, the beast sank out of sight once more. If the commander's account was true, then what he described sounded very much like a Mosasaur. These were colossal marine reptiles that could grow to lengths of 60 feet. They are believed to have gone extinct some 66 million years ago, yet numerous reports suggest that they have continued to surface off the coast of New Zealand as recently as 2013 and in other waters throughout the past 3 centuries. The scientific community has once again dismissed such sightings, claiming they are nothing more than misidentifications of saltwater crocodiles. But this explanation seems difficult to accept for many eyewitnesses who insist they observed creatures in excess of 50 feet. By comparison, the largest saltwater crocodile ever recorded measured less than 20 feet in length. Yet, the sea monsters said to endure are not limited to creatures of prehistory. In the late 20th century, a Japanese whale research vessel operating in the Pacific reported seeing a vast creature breaking the surface. It was approximately 90 feet long, white in color like an albino whale. Yet its form was disturbingly human in shape, with a rounded head and long, tendril-like arms or fins that stretched the length of its body. It had no legs or feet, its lower half tapering into a tail reminiscent of a mermaid. Because of its grotesque, human-like appearance, the crew named it Ningen, the Japanese word for human. The entity was reported on several further occasions, most often in the frigid waters of the Southern Ocean near Antarctica, leading many to believe that it inhabits colder climates. Photographs and even video recordings exist, though the poor quality of such evidence has led many to dismiss the creature as nothing more than a hoax. Still, if the Ningen does exist, some argue it may represent an undiscovered species of whale. So what are we to make of all these alleged sea monsters? Do the observations contain a grain of truth? Or should they be dismissed as nothing more than exaggerations? There is not enough compelling evidence to conclude that any of these beings truly exist. Yet, on the other hand, the depths of Earth's oceans remain so opaque and inaccessible that they might as well belong to some remote corner of the solar system. Quite simply, we do not know what lies beneath. What cannot be denied is that the possible existence of massive, predatory, or seldom-seen creatures in our waters has long captivated human imagination. It seems that much remains for us to discover, and perhaps much more for us to fear, and that is the story for today. Thank you for watching until the very end. If you enjoy videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you receive a notification each time we release a new one.